Hi everybody, this is Jason Fisher from timeandfreedom.com here to do a review on Visalus and its compensation plan. I'm excited to go over this information. I've got 17 and a half years of experience in this industry, lost $1.5 million home about 7.5 years ago due to the faults of the multi-level marketing industry. So I've considered myself pretty much an expert when it comes to understanding the industry, why some companies succeed, why others fail, and what you need in a business to create long-term, successful residual income that comes in for a lifetime for you and your family. So what we're going to do right now is go over the Visalus compensation plan and go through some of the different levels that they have, go through some of the different compensation plan structures that they have within the business, and really just start to unravel a little bit about the company's compensation plan, but also go over some of the faults, because that's what I've been seeing right now with talking to a lot of folks that are in Visalus, even the ones that have reached the upper tiers of the compensation plan. It's starting to really tell the truth of why the company is experiencing some major issues right now, why sales are dramatically down over last year at this time. So let's go through some of the different levels. We've got associate, director, regional director. Regional director is where you can start qualifying for the BMW car bonus program that they have in place. Then you've got national director, presidential director, ambassador, 1-star ambassador, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star ambassador, diamond ambassador, royal ambassador, crown ambassador, and then global ambassador. So those are the different levels within the compensation plan. Now, to stay active, you have to do 100 in personal qualification volume, or 100 personal volume points a month yourself, or you can have 200 in personal qualification volume if it comes from retail sales. The main part of this, and what we teach at timeandfreedom.com, is, first of all, weight loss is a completely fickle industry. I was amongst one of the top multi-level marketing companies in the weight loss industry, and customers come and go. That might be one of the reasons of why the sales within the company is fluctuating drastically over last year to this year. It's a very, very fickle industry in weight loss. The customers are very fickle. It's not a long-term mindset of the consumer buying dietary weight loss supplements. Yes, it is taught to be a way of life, and it is taught not to be a diet, but it is taught to be a good balanced nutrition program that should become a part of your everyday daily routine. The problem is most people don't stay on those products long term. So, as we talk about on timeandfreedom.com, the 80-20 principle, most people don't do much when it comes to the business, but are their feet held to the fire by staying a long-term customer of least of that company's products or services. And what we see in Visalus right now is a lot of numbers come up on the board, a lot of people set up accounts, but when it comes to long-term customers staying active, or their distributors, or as they call it, their promoters staying active, it starts to fail in that category. 125 in personal volume or personal consumption, or 200 a month in retail is not something that the masses are going to do long term, nor are they going to stay on those products long term. I had 700 personal customers for my former weight loss company. At the end of 11 and a half years, 7 were active. That is the nature of the beast when it comes to weight loss products. So here's the thing. There's 9 different ways of earning compensation in Visalus. And we're not going to go through all those 9 different ways and income streams available, but there are 9 different income opportunity streams when it comes to the compensation plan within Visalus. One is the BMW program that starts at the regional director position. You have to do 12,500 volume in your organization to reach the regional director status. Here's where the problem starts to unravel a little bit with the BMW program that Visalus has in place right now. Is a lot of folks, and they're promoting a lot of folks to the regional director status pretty quickly. Last year it was an enormous amount. This year it is drastically decreasing with folks reaching that rank. But I want you to understand that a lot of folks in Visalus are reaching the BMW status or the 12,500 status pretty quickly. Some within their first couple of weeks to a month, to their first few months or 6 months or even less. And the problem with that is that the company is giving them a car, but the volume isn't stable. As we talked about, the weight loss companies, the weight loss customers are extremely fickle. They don't stay on the products long term. To acquire a BMW payment or to acquire 12,500 in volume to reach that status to get that BMW payment, it's scary because most people don't have solid consumable volume being done in their organization to be able to sustain that 12,500 position. So what we're seeing in Visalus right now is a lot of people getting the BMW and then a lot of people not having that BMW paid for by the company. And it starts having to come out of their pocket. That volume is very unstable. It is not stable volume. And because people are getting the BMW in such the lower ranks of the compensation plan, it's scary because most people are not holding that status in order to have the company continue paying it. Now they're stuck with a BMW payment. Very, very, very scary. When I saw Visalus come out with this car program at the lower ranks, I said, there's going to be a problem with that, especially with weight loss customers. They're going to have a lot of people that are going to be running these weight loss challenges, and they're going to be doing these parties, but the problem is are the customers going to stay long term after 90 to 120 days? And if they don't continue to do more challenges, they're going to have a hard time keeping up that volume. So we've got to be really, really cautious with that. The other thing is people don't stay on the products long term. We talked about that. Team commissions down to the depth, because you're able to earn 8 generations of percentages on residual or royalty income or override income in the Visalus opportunity. The problem is that you don't earn those depth levels until you reach the higher ranks of the company. So for instance, at even just the director status, which you have to have over 2,000 volume points to be at that director status. You need 2,000 volume within your organization. You earn 4 generations. Even when you get to the regional director status, you earn 6 generations. But most people don't get to 12,500 points within their organization. Most people don't accumulate 2,000 volume points within their organization. So the majority of the promoters are not earning many generations of their organization because you only earn the in-depth parts of the compensation plan, levels 1 through 8, when you start hitting the higher ranks of the company. And that's where it gets a little scary. The level right before ambassador, presidential director, you're earning 8 generations in the compensation plan. At ambassador, you have 150,000 volume points within your organization in order to reach that situation. That's the only time that you're getting 8 generations within the compensation plan is ambassador and presidential director. So it's really, really, really scary to see a business model that does not pay a lot of folks generations of commissions until they reach the higher levels of the compensation plan. Where is this long-term residual income? Are the masses even earning residual income? And I'm going to have to debate no, because the masses are not presidential and the masses are not ambassador. You can see that from the audited income statistics that the company supplies. So the most people are not earning commissionable income, and they're only getting a few generations, if that. And like I said, at director, they only get 4, even at the director status. And yeah, there's a lot more people at director than ambassador, but 4 generations is not a very, very lucrative compensation plan. They give you huge bonuses, huge upfront bonuses, huge startup bonuses for getting customer acquisition and to getting promoters involved with the business. But when it comes to commissions, override income, they fall short on that. You've got to get to the higher tiers. One of the other biggest flaws that I see within the Visalus compensation plan is that in order to reach your next rank advancement, you only can have 60% of volume coming from any one of your legs. So if you have one leg, or if you have one entity that's producing a lot of volume, you only can use 60% of that volume towards your next rank advancement. And you can only have 60% or use 60% of that volume from any leg that you have. I have a real problem with any compensation plan that penalizes you with not getting paid on volume that is brought in by that entity that wouldn't be involved with that business if it wasn't for you in the first place. Why should there be a gotcha? Okay, if you bring in one person into an organization, whether it's a binary where it's infinite, but you still have to balance certain legs, or if it's a regular compensation plan that's outside of a binary system, where you've got generations 1 through 3, or 1 through 5, or 1 through 7, or 1 through 9, or whatever it might be, when you introduce an entity, a distributor, a promoter, a consultant, a marketing executive, however we might call it, to that business model, you should be paid on the full depth of that business and what it offers, and whatever volume happens from that entity within that business and within that compensation plan, you should be paid on. And it should also count towards your next rank advancement. So that's something that's a little bit of a tricky situation right there, and it's a little bit of a gotcha, and that's something that's not a real strong, I think, point in the Visalus compensation plan. So what are the positives? I had a hard time really looking at the positives, just from the fact that people don't stay on the products long term. The positives, if we were to look at it, is they do give you a lot of money up front. They do give you a lot of money for making customer acquisitions and promoter acquisition with getting folks started. The problem is the residual income there. I think it completely falls short with that. From the customers not staying on the products long term to the promoters not getting depth within your compensation plan until they hit the higher ranks. That means the majority of people within your organization are not going to get paid a lot of team commissions. They will get bonuses, they will get upfront bonuses, they will be able to share in some revenue pools and all of that, but when it comes to residual income, which is why people are involved with this industry in the first place, I think it fails that criteria majorly. Well, again, thank you so much. This again is Jason Fisher from timeandfreedom.com. To get in contact with us, click the contact link or subscribe to our next upcoming live webinar, which is the multi-level marketing lies exposed and the problems and the solutions to the industry's ongoing problem of not supplying long-term residual income and what is needed in a business model to create that. Please register for that next upcoming webinar if you have not yet watched it. It will be pretty phenomenal, or contact us on the contact page. Again, this is Jason Fisher from timeandfreedom.com. You have yourself an awesome and a wonderful day.